You didn't do anything wrong, but God still started removing people. That's not loss, that's a warning. This message is for you, because lately it feels quiet in a way that's unsettling. Conversations stopped, invitations dried up, people who once had access to you suddenly feel distant or gone. You've replayed it in your head. Was it something I said? Did I miss a step? And the hardest part is that God hasn't explained himself yet. But God is warning you, not abandoning you. And the confusion you feel is actually part of the protection. When God separates someone, he doesn't always ease into it. Sometimes it's abrupt, clean, uncomfortable. One day you're connected. The next day, access is gone. Scripture shows this pattern clearly. Jesus didn't slowly distance himself from the crowd when it was time to move forward. There were moments he withdrew immediately, to mountains, to deserts, to places no one else was invited. Not because the people were evil, but because proximity would have interfered with obedience. And that's the danger here. Some people don't mean harm, but they still slow what God is about to do. If God waited until it felt polite, you'd stay too long. If this is landing, pause for a second. Don't rush past this. Let it register. Here's what most people miss. When elevation is near, access becomes a threat. Not everyone who knows you is allowed into what God is building next. There's a verse where God says he will hedge up the way with thorns. That sounds harsh until you realize what it's doing. It prevents movement in the wrong direction. It limits who can follow you where you're going. This separation isn't about loneliness, it's about containment. Some people would have taken credit. Some would have leaked what God told you in confidence. Some would have drained your clarity with opinions disguised as concern. So God removes them before the conversation happens. It feels confusing because protection often does. This part is uncomfortable, but it matters. God often removes people before he exposes motives, not to punish them, but to protect you from seeing things too early. If you saw everything clearly right now, you'd react emotionally. You'd confront. You'd defend yourself. You'd try to explain. But Scripture says God prepares a table in the presence of enemies, not in the middle of a debate. That means exposure comes after positioning. Separation first, clarity later. If God showed you everything now, you'd step out of alignment trying to fix what he's already handling. The next sign is the one most people misinterpret, and it's where many get hurt. You've noticed this too. God isn't talking as much as before, not because he's distant, but because some work is done in silence. In Scripture, there are moments when God stops explaining himself, right before decisive action. No announcements, no warnings to others, just movement. Silence is not absence, it's confidentiality. And if God is quiet with you right now, it's because what he's doing cannot be negotiated, explained, or interrupted. This is where obedience matters more than understanding. If you felt this silence, don't comment yet. Just sit with it. This is the part no one likes to hear. What's ahead of you requires emotional strength most people around you don't have yet. Not because they're weak, but because the responsibility is heavy. In Scripture, leadership moments are almost always preceded by isolation. Moses in the desert, David in the fields, Paul in obscurity. Loneliness wasn't a side effect, it was training. Because when influence increases, so does pressure. And God will not promote you into a space where you still need constant reassurance. If he's teaching you how to stand alone now, it's because later, many will depend on your stability. Hear this carefully. The biggest threat right now is nostalgia, wanting comfort more than clarity, familiar voices over God's voice. Scripture warns about turning back, not because forward is easy, but because backward feels safe. If God removed them, do not chase closure. Do not demand explanations. Do not reopen doors He closed quietly. What God removes without chaos is not meant to be revisited. If you've been tempted to reach back out, take this to prayer before you act. So here's the question, and it's not comfortable. Can God trust you to walk alone without creating your own company? Because what's ahead doesn't need consensus, it needs obedience. And if God removed everyone, it's not because you were rejected, it's because where you're going cannot be crowded. Sit with that, and choose carefully what you reconnect to next.